This hip and low back yoga class, if you want to grab a couple of blocks, and we are actually going to start down on our backs this morning. So taking both feet together and just letting the knees fall open for a moment. If there's any pinching or discomfort, you can just take the feet flat to the floor. But otherwise, let the hands fall down by your side. Let the eyes close softly and begin to deepen the breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Letting go, melting into the floor. Softening the eyes, softening the jaw, softening the neck and the shoulders. And then on your next exhale, bring both feet flat to the floor, take the knees up together. Option here to keep the eyes closed, but walk the heels up toward your seat. Inhale, float the arms up as you lift your hips up into bridge pose. And then exhale, release hips to the ground. Taking this a few times here, just waking up the back of the body. Not a whole lot of rules here. And last one, we'll meet back down on the floor, stacking both knees on top of each other. Lower the knees off to the right side of your mat. Take the arms out into a T position. Just for a gentle spinal twist. Couple of breaths here. And then come back up through center, stacking both knees. Take your knees off to the other side. And then release, coming back through center, stepping your feet out as wide as the edge of your yoga mat. Begin to rock the knees from side to side. Just getting some movement in the hips, the low back. And then find some stillness here. Both knees pointed up to the ceiling, heel toe your feet in slightly. And we're just going to take both knees down and in. Feeling that gentle stretch in the hip girdle. Breathing deeply, exhale, release completely. Lifting those knees back up toward the ceiling, heel toe your feet into the middle of your mat. Okay. So we're going to take both knees up to the chest, really hugging them, drawing the forehead up toward the knees, really squeezing everything in. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Continue holding that right knee as you extend that left leg out long. Take it down to the floor. Try to soften the shoulders again, letting everything go. Taking that knee across the body, extend that arm out to the side. Just a rotation stretch, getting into the outer hip. And then coming back through center, let's take that knee out to that right shoulder. So really lowering it down and out. Release that knee back up to center, grasp onto the back of the thigh. Inhale, trying to guide that knee toward a straighter position, and then release to point the toe. Inhale, lift, draw the toe up to the shin. Exhale, release, and point the toe. Not forcing anything here, just getting some gentle movement in the back of the leg. Knee does not need to be straight. And then release both feet to the floor, bending both knees. Other side, let's tuck the forehead up to the knees, really squeezing in, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Continue hugging that left knee as you extend the right leg out long and down to the floor. Try to relax the shoulders away from the ears here as you pull that knee up toward the chest. Taking the knee and drawing it across the body for a spinal twist, accessing parts of the outer hip, feeling that stretch. And then release to come back through center, lowering that knee down and out to the side. And releasing the knee back up to center, grasp on behind the thigh. We'll inhale to straighten that knee, drawing the toe up to the shin, and then exhale, release to point the toe. And again, the knee doesn't need to be completely straight here. We're just introducing some gentle movement this morning. And then release both feet to the floor, bending the knees. Waking up that core this morning, we're going to inhale, draw the belly down in toward the spine. So we're trying to flatten out the low back with the mat. Hold there for about 5 seconds, but when we're doing this, try to soften the neck, the shoulders, no clenching in the jaw, just working from our pelvic floor and our abdominal region. And then release, letting the back arch completely for a moment. And then once again, drawing the belly in, flattening out the back, keeping the shoulders and neck soft. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Release, and then we're going to do that one more time. 3, 2, and 1. Release. Excellent job. So stepping your right foot up toward the ceiling. Okay, so it's almost like we're stamping a footprint up. Place both palms down on the ground. We'll exhale, begin to lower, lower, lower that foot down toward the ground, just so that it hovers about 6 inches off the ground. Now take your attention to the belly button, to the low back. Can we try to flatten out that low back? Excellent job. Inhale, lift that foot back up. We're going to take that 2 more times on the right side. Exhale, release, lowering that right leg down. Hold, hold, hold. For 3, 2, 1. Release the foot up to the ceiling. Let's take that one more time. For 3, 2, 1. Bend the knee, take the foot to the floor. Excellent job. Other side, stepping that left foot up to the ceiling. Draw the belly button down and into the spine. Exhale, release, lowering with control. Hovering that foot for 5. Holding, you're stronger than you think here. And then release the foot up to the ceiling. Let's take that 2 more times. Release, hovering the foot for 5, 2, 1. Lift up, and 1 more. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bend the knee. And just let everything relax for a moment, taking a deep inhale as you reach the arms up overhead. And then exhale, letting go. And then let's roll over onto your side, moving with intention here, moving with ease. Let's find our way into a tabletop position. Taking the knees as wide as the edges of your yoga mat. Toes touch each other as you send the hips down and back, letting the forehead melt down on the floor. Breathing into this space, feeling the belly pressing against the thighs as you inhale. Exhale, letting go, sinking down into the hips deeper, letting the forearms melt. And then begin to rock the forehead from side to side. Walk the fingertips up overhead, really reaching, tenting up on the fingertips, and peel the head off of the floor. Walk your fingertips off to the left side of your mat. Anchor your right hip down to the ground. Breathe. Walking the fingertips back through center and off to the right side of your mat. Anchor the left hip down to the ground and breathe. Walking it back through center here for a moment. Walking your fingertips up so that you're sitting down on your heels if that's comfortable for you. Let's take a gentle wrist stretch. If that's uncomfortable, you can swing the legs around and take a seat. And just turning to face you. So we're rolling the wrists in one direction. We're going to be on our wrists here for a few minutes. So we want to make sure that those are nice and warmed up. And then let's go the opposite direction. taking a moment here to open up all 10 fingers, really spreading them out as far as they'll go. And then gripping, making fists, and then releasing, spreading all those fingers out, and then gripping, making fists. Let's take that 2 more times. Great job. Grabbing onto your left wrist. We're just going to roll that right one in one direction 5 times. And then the opposite. Excellent. Other side. Finding 5 rolls in one direction. 4 and 5, and then the opposite direction. And let's come back onto the hands and knees in tabletop. Shifting your weight onto the right hand, flip the top of the left hand back so that your fingertips are facing you. Really trying to straighten that elbow, stretching out the forearm. Deep breath in. And then exhale, unflipping that hand, taking the other side. So we do one wrist at a time here, so we're not weight bearing in an unsafe position on the hands. And then release. Great job. So spreading those fingertips out nice and wide. Let's take a couple of rounds of cat-cow here, dropping that belly down. Inhale to lift and look up. Elongating the abdomen, and then drawing the belly in and look down. Really rounding that spine. And then coordinating your own breath to your movement here, finding what feels good. And then finding some stillness here. Let's shift the hips off to the right side of your mat. Take the gaze over that right shoulder to look at the hip. And then we'll come back through center, taking the hips off to the left side and look at that hip over the left shoulder. And just flowing between right side, left side. And then find some stillness here. If you need to take a moment here to roll out those wrists, go ahead and do that right now. And then come back down to tabletop here. We're going to tuck both toes and hover the knees so that the shins are parallel with the mat. We're just here statically holding for 5. Breathe. 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the knees to the ground. So we're going to do that 2 more times. This next time I want you to pay attention to the neck muscles and the jaw. So trying to keep those areas soft and relaxed. Tuck the toes, inhale, lift up, hold. Relax the pelvic floor, relax the jaw. And release. One more, inhale, lift up. Try to flatten out that low back. And release. Take a moment here to rock back, sitting up on the toes, keeping those toes tucked. So that might feel uncomfortable for those big toe joints. If it does, you can untuck. This is a really nice foot stretch. And then as we come back down onto the hands, we're keeping those toes tucked, hover the knees, and begin to glide forward and backward. So we're shifting the shoulders over the wrists. For 3, 2, and 1. Release. I'm going to take that 2 more times. So gliding forward and backward 5 times. Tuck toes, hover knees, glide forward, backward. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Excellent job. You got this. 1 more. We're going to inhale, tuck those toes, lift up, glide forward, backward for 5, 4. Take breaks if you need to. 2, and 1. Excellent job. That one's tough. You can untuck those toes, come up for a moment, give those wrists a little bit of love. So we have 1 more sequence on the hands, knees here. Okay, so coming down onto hands, knees again. Drawing the belly button up and in to keep that low back flat. We're going to extend the right leg back behind you. For some balance here, you can opt for just doing this, really driving that heel, lifting that heel up. Or we can take the left hand up and forward, really creating a long line from the fingertip all the way down to the heel, active in your core, Press the heel up to the ceiling a little bit. And then bring that left hand down by your side for some balance. Maybe you bend the knee and stamp that foot up to the ceiling a little more. That's one option. Or you can catch the top of your foot with that left hand. Whatever is in your practice today, we don't need to go that full amount. But continue holding for 3, 2, 1. Great job. Release that hand to the floor. Extend your right leg out long again, but this time we're going to spiral around to face the right side of your mat. So your shin is coming around about 90 degrees. And we're going to take the hand to the hip. That foot can either come down to the floor and the arm up for our modified side plank. Or if you want a little more of a challenge, you can take hand to hip and float that right leg up. Wherever you are, we're holding for 3, 2, 1. Spiral around, squaring off the hips, taking both knees to the ground. Send the hips back for child's pose. You deserve it. That is a tough little sequence. Inhale. Exhale. On your next inhale, press it back up to tabletop, other side. Extend that left leg back behind you, really driving back with the heel. This might be enough for you to hold. If you want a little more of a balance challenge, reach that right hand up overhead. Long line from the fingertip down to the heel. Go ahead and bend that back knee, float the right hand down by your side, really trying to keep that low back level. Okay, this might be enough, or you can bend that knee a little more, reaching back for the top of the foot. Quad stretch. For 3, 2, 1, release, taking that foot to the floor for a moment, pivoting around 90 degrees so that we can face the side of your mat. Stacking the shoulder over the wrist. 2 options here. You can keep that foot down on the ground, floating that hand overhead for our modified plank pose. Or we can lift up, balance for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, release. Spiraling back around, sending the hips down and back for our child's pose. Just resting, forehead onto mat, allowing the hands to come down by your side. Let go, let go, let go. All right, roll it on up so that we're sitting back on the heels. Grab onto your yoga blocks and set them up at the top of your mat. Okay, so we're going to come onto the hands, knees one more time. Tuck those toes and think about that knee hover that we were just doing. So we're going to hover the knees first and then send the hips up and back, keeping the knees bent so that we can get that long spine for our downward facing dog. Once you get that long spine, then we can pedal those heels out, alternating right and left, right and left. Take the gaze up between the hands. Go ahead and march your fingers or your feet up to meet the hands at the top of your mat. Inhale, come on up to a flat back, sliding the hands along the shins, elongating the spine. Big toes are touching each other as you bend the knees, send the hips back and reach forward for chair pose. So we're going to play with a little bit of balance this morning. So really trying to flatten out that back. Reach the arms up overhead. On your exhale, sweep the hands back behind you and try to lift the heels up for a moment. 3, 2, 1. Lower the heels down to the ground, sweep the arms back overhead. This time squeezing the knees together, squeezing the glutes. Sweep the arms down and back, lift the heels. 3, 2, 1. Exhale, release. Let's take that one more time. Inhale, sweep those arms down and back, lift the heels for 3. And they're not lifted very high. And then release. Come on up into mountain pose. Let's take your hands to heart center. Close the eyes. And just take a moment to ground down, catch your breath. Inhale deeply, exhale completely. Inhale, sweep those arms up overhead. Exhale to cactus the arms, drawing the elbows down, lifting that chest up. Reaching the fingertips up. Exhale to take a little twist to the right side. And then inhale, lift it back up through center, taking your twist off to the left side. And then inhale, come on up, take those hands to heart center for a moment. Hinging forward at the hips, shift your weight onto the right leg. Let's step the left foot back, finding a low lunge. You can take the blocks on their tall side up to you. So we're really lifting that chest up. Okay, long line as you drop and sink the hips down. Lower that back knee and untuck the toe. Reach those fingertips up, up, up to the ceiling. Breathe. Tuck that back toe. We want to squeeze those hips, squeeze the thigh as you press up, lifting that back knee, crescent lunge. Relax the toes. Pivot on that back foot to find our warrior two. Stacking knee over ankle. Flip your front palm, exhale, reverse warrior, take your back hand to your back knee. Let's go back up through center and take front hand or front elbow to front knee for extended side angle, softening the shoulder down and away from the ear. Let's pivot on the back foot here, finding our low lunge once again. Take the block inside the arch of the foot, plant your hand, inhale, float the right hand up for spinal twist. Release that twist, blocks come up to their tall side. Spring off of the back foot up to the top of your mat. Inhale, come on up to a flat back. Exhale, forward fold, bending at the knees for a moment. And then inhale, sweep those arms up overhead. Exhale, cactusing the arms, lifting the chest up. And then release overhead. 2 more times. And then take the hands to heart center. So this time we are hinging forward at the hips, bending the knee. Shift all of your weight onto that left foot. And then we'll step the right one back, finding our lunge. So get your feet prepped in railroad tracks here. And then sink the hips down, lifting up through the chest, pressing into those blocks on their tall side. Square off your hips and breathe. Lowering that back knee down to the ground, untuck the toe for a moment and reach both fingertips up to the ceiling. Reaching up, but trying to keep the shoulders soft. Okay, a little balance here. We're gonna tuck that back toe, lift the back knee up, squeeze the thigh, crescent lunge. If you need to shorten your stance, feel free to do so. Opening up, extending that arm back behind you, finding our warrior two on the other side. Relax the shoulders, draw belly button in. Flipping the front palm up to the ceiling. Exhale, reverse warrior, reaching those fingertips up to the floor or to the ceiling. And then come back through center, taking front elbow to front knee, extending that arm overhead, dropping the shoulder down and away from the ear. Windmilling those arms so that you come back up into your warrior two. This time, we're rotating the foot. I'm going to turn to face you. Rotating the foot so that we're coming into this wide-legged position, getting those feet parallel. Inhale, 5-pointed star, reaching fingertips out long. Exhale, hinge forward at the hips, taking hands down to hips. Flat back here. If you want to grab a block to bring the floor up to you, feel free to do so. I love the block because I feel like it really allows me to really get that integrity in the spine, finding that length. And then reach the right hand up, taking a twist, trying to keep the hips level, even if that means that your hand doesn't float up very high. And then release the hand down to your block, other side. Keep those hips level, and then release. Okay, rolling it up all the way back up to standing. We're bringing the heels inward so that the toes can go out at an angle. Inhale, sweep those arms up overhead. Exhale, cactus the arms descending down. Really sinking it down, engaging those thighs. Press your knees to the back of the room. And we're here, holding for 5. You got this. You're stronger than you think. 4, sink it down. 3, 2, 1. Inhale, come on up. Let those thighs rest. Great job. Inhale, 5-pointed star. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Descend back down. This time we're taking elbows to the knees and we're rotating. Right shoulder, left shoulder, just dropping down, creating a little bit of movement in the spine. If this is uncomfortable in the spine at all, please come out of this. And then straightening the legs, go ahead and roll it back up to standing. Let's heel toe the feet back in to the center. Taking your block and your body up to the top of your mat. Inhale to sweep those arms up overhead. Exhale, stepping your right foot back behind you once again. Almost like we're in that warrior 2 pose, but this time we're gonna pivot on the back foot to face the front of your mat. So coming down into that low lunge again. Let's take that yoga block and flatten it down onto its lowest side. Inside the arch of the foot, plant your right hand on it, and then inhale, floating the left hand up, spinal twist on the other side. Coming on out of that twist, lower that back knee down to the ground and sweep the left leg behind you. We're gonna come down into a wide-legged seated position. Okay, so if in the past you've used a blanket or something to prop you up, you can go ahead and grab that now. Sometimes that prop is nice for the hips and elongating the spine. So in this pose here, we want the knees and toes turned upward. Engage the thighs, stretch the inner thigh, okay? So inhale to lift up through the crown of the head. Exhale, begin to walk the fingertips forward. Continue engaging those quads, so the tops of the thighs. Pretend like you're lifting your kneecaps up. Keep the chest lifted. And then walk the fingertips up and in, taking your right foot into the inner thigh. Taking the back of the hand inside the knee, reach the right hand up and over for a nice side body stretch. Breathe, anchor your hip down into the ground. And then windmill the arms so that the right hand comes back behind you. We're pressing up onto the knee, onto the shin, reaching that left arm up overhead. Gentle back bend here, some weight bearing in the arms. And then release the hips down to the ground, other side. Taking the sole of the foot inside the thigh. Back of the hand to the inside of the knee, floating left arm up and over, really anchoring that hip down into the ground. Release to come back up through center, planting that left hand behind you. Inhale, float the right hand up, extending long through the body. Breathing. And then exhale, release the hips down to the ground. Take both soles of the feet together this time. So cobbler's pose here. Now the feet can be out in front of you as far as they want, or they can be as close to the groin as far as they want. So take both hands behind the hips for a moment. Press into the floor just to reset the spine. Take both hands down to the shins or the ankle. Pull the chest through to sit up tall. Finding a moment here. The knees do not need to flatten down to the ground. This may be part of your anatomy that this doesn't happen, so no need to push it. And then release both knees, coming back up to center, feet flat. So we're going to spiral around so that we can come onto the long side of our mat here, extending both legs out long in front of you. Draw both toes up to the shins. We're growing tall to the crown of the head, and then exhale to hinge forward at the hips, keeping the chest proud, keeping it lifted. Maybe you can grab onto the grab onto the ankles. Maybe you can grasp onto the bottoms of the toes. Wherever you are, we really want to try to keep that chest lifted though. Breathe, creating space. Walking the fingers up the shins, sitting up tall once again. Go ahead and draw that left leg in toward the knee, in toward the body, rather. Crisscross that foot over the knee. Extend that left hand behind you, reaching the right hand up overhead. Exhale, take a gentle twist, hooking that elbow to the knee. The key here is that we want to keep the spine stacked on top of itself. Breathe. Expanding throughout the rib cage as you inhale. Exhale to deepen your twist. And then release to come back through center. Extending that leg out long in front of you. Now drawing the right knee up to the chest. Sitting up tall, proud. Crisscross the foot over the knee. And extend that right hand back behind you. Really reaching those fingertips up to the ceiling, hooking the elbow onto the knee to deepen your twist. So once again, we're not putting too much weight in that back hand, so we really want to stay lifted through the spine. Breathe deeply. And then exhale, release your twist. Feet flat on the floor. We're going to scoot our bottoms down toward our heels. Hook the hands behind the thighs as you sit up tall once again. Rock back slightly until the feet hover off of the floor. This might be enough, or you can take the shins parallel with the mat. If you want a little more of a challenge, take full boat pose by extending those arms out in front of you, reaching overhead and extending the legs up. Wherever you are today, I'm going to hang out here because that feels good. Find your breath. If you need to grab onto the backs of the thighs here, you can. But try to push through. This gets easier the more you practice. 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and release the feet to the floor. Sitting up nice and tall here, grabbing onto the knees. Reach both fingertips out in front of you and begin to lower down all the way to the floor, trying to hang on as long as you can. Until finally you release, let go. Extending those arms out to the side, extending the legs out long. Taking up that space. Breathing deeply, and then exhale to let go. Great job. Go ahead and bend both knees. Take your feet flat to the floor. Walk the heels up toward your seat. We're going to press the palms into the floor beside your hips and then send the hips up to the ceiling for a bridge pose. Lace the fingers underneath the hips and begin to snuggle the shoulder blades together to expand across the chest. Continue lifting those hips up, squeezing the glutes, trying not to let the knees flare out too much. Breathe, hold, strengthen, and then release the hands, lowering it down one spinal segment at a time. Excellent job. Taking a moment to feel. Okay. Crisscross your right foot over your left knee. Gently press that knee away from you. Just be here for a moment. Trying to keep that knee position, go ahead and extend your arms out into a T. Rock the knee from side to side, just cradling that shin. And then begin to lower that foot off to the left side of your mat to deepen that twist. Okay, wherever you land, whatever feels good, take a moment to breathe. And then release, coming back through center. Let's take the other side. Crossing left foot over right knee this time. Press your knee away from you. Feeling that openness throughout the hip. Keep that knee position as you bring the arms out into a T. And then cradle to your leg, rocking that knee from side to side. Begin to lower that foot off to the right side of your mat, just to deepen your twist. And then release, coming back through center. Take the foot to the floor, walk your feet out as wide as the edges of your yoga mat. And windshield wiper the knees from side to side. Walk the feet back into the center, grasp onto the back of the right thigh. Maybe this time you can straighten that leg up, stamping the foot up to the ceiling. Maybe you want to take that leg down and out to the side for a moment. And then release back up through center, other side. Stamp your left foot up to the ceiling, trying to straighten out that leg, looking onto the back of the thigh. Find your breath. Begin to lower that leg down and out. And then release to come back up through center. Let's hug both knees into the chest, drawing the forehead up to the knees. Rock from side to side. And then release the head back down to the floor. We're going to take both feet up to the ceiling this time. Spread your feet out wide, bend the knees, and try to grasp onto the shins or the outer edges of the feet for happy baby pose. If this does not feel good for the body, you can come on out of this and take any other stretch that you might want. Otherwise, you can rock from side to side, just massaging that low back. And then release the feet to the floor, extending them out long. Taking the hands down by your side, palms flip up to the ceiling. And just begin to let go, release tension, relax, taking this time for you. Begin to deepen your breath, filling up those lungs with love, taking up as much space as you can. And then when you exhale, breathe it all out. Breathe out any tension, anything that isn't serving you at this moment, until you have nothing left to care about. Let it all go. Relax your forehead, your jaw. Release tension in the shoulders. Allow your arms to feel heavy and melt into the ground below you. Feeling relaxed there at the front and back of the chest. Release tension in the pelvis, the hips, your low back. Feeling all that beautiful energy that you just created in those spaces. Maybe you feel a little tingling, a vibration, new blood flow coming to those areas, healing. And allow that energy to float down the legs, down through the heels, the soles of the feet, and all 10 toes. Feeling the connection to the earth below you. Feeling this exchange of life between the earth below you and your body. Feeling that connection. Just taking a moment to meditate on that and be with your breath. your mind starts to wander, kindly bring the attention back to the breath. And when you're ready, you can bring some movement and awareness back into the ankles, the wrists. Bending both knees, feet flat on the floor. Let's roll over onto your side, moving with intention and ease. And gently prop yourself up to a seated position. Sitting up tall and energetic, rooting down to the ground below. Feeling energized and ready to greet the day. Bring the hands to heart center and gently tuck the chin. And may you have peace in your thoughts, in your word, and in your heart. And from my heart to yours. Namaste.